Hey everyone, welcome to another review, and this review is for the movie Ted 2. Yes, Ted is back. Seth MacFarlane writes and directs this movie, and he previously did the first Ted movie. And honestly, before I get into this review, I'm going to talk about the first Ted movie. I really liked the first Ted movie. It was a really funny movie, and it was a movie about a talking teddy bear that starred Mark Wahlberg. I thought that movie would suck out loud, but it actually ended up being a really, really funny movie. And I thought, like, Seth MacFarlane, maybe he could be a really good writer and director of good comedies. But unfortunately, last year he gave us A Million Ways to Die in the West. And it was fucking horrible. It was so bad. So I'm like, okay, Seth MacFarlane, he's 1-1. Let's see what he's going to do. Then I found he was making Ted 2, and I'm a little skeptical when it comes to comedy sequels. But you know what, let's see what he does. And honestly, I thought Ted 2 was actually a decent movie. I actually laughed a lot. The story of this movie is, it's a few years later after the first Ted movie, and Ted is getting married to, what's her name, Jamie Lynn or something? Yeah, Jamie Lynn, yeah, he pretty much gets married to her, and then his marriage is actually not what he seems, and they're having some trouble, so they think a child would solve that. So yeah, they're trying to have a kid, but then they find out Ted is, obviously, he's a teddy bear, he's not human. So basically, this movie's about Ted fighting for his human rights, because they go to court and they want to make Ted an official person, because people think Ted is property. He's not a person, he's just property. So this movie is mostly about, like, human rights and him fighting a lawyer played by Amanda Seyfried, and basically fighting for his human rights, and he doesn't want to be marked as just a teddy bear. It's just property of Hasbro. And yeah, also there's a little side story. The guy from the first movie, Donnie I think his name is, played by Giovanni Ribisi, he's working with Hasbro so they can get Ted, cut him open, and make other Teds and stuff. Yeah, it's a little weird, but yeah, honestly, I don't care about the story. I just wanted this movie to make me laugh. And did this movie make me laugh? Yes, it did. This movie is very, very funny. Unfortunately, the comedy doesn't stay consistent. There are some scenes that are laugh-out-loud hilarious, just like the first Ted movie. Then there's some scenes that the jokes just don't work. They're very cheap jokes, stupid fart jokes, or slapstick jokes. Some slapstick jokes can be really funny. They weren't as funny in this movie. And the third act of this movie, I don't know where they're going. I think they were trying to rip off the first Ted movie with the serious, intense third act. But it kind of worked for the first Ted movie, and actually there was still some comedic elements to the third act of the first Ted movie. The third act of this movie, the last 20 minutes of this movie was really weird, very, like, it didn't fit well with the tone, and there was nothing funny about it, and I didn't think it really worked. I didn't think it was necessary. Honestly, if they would have cut the last 20 minutes out of this movie, it probably would have been a really, really solid comedy movie. But other than that, this movie was very, very funny. Mark Wahlberg, Seth MacFarlane are both back, and they got chemistry. They have really good chemistry. In the first one, they had awesome chemistry, and they have really good chemistry in this movie. Mark Wahlberg can be very, very funny, and he was very, very funny in this movie. And so Seth MacFarlane as Ted, he was hilarious, and the script for this movie was funny. It was almost like a Family Guy script. This movie was almost like a 2-hour movie of, like, Family Guy. And yes, Seth MacFarlane, he did an okay job writing and directing in this movie. And yeah, Amanda Seyfried is now, like, the love interest of Mark Wahlberg, because Mila Kunis couldn't do this movie because I heard she got, like, pregnant or something. I preferred Mila Kunis and Mark Wahlberg together. I didn't mind Amanda Seyfried in this movie. She was actually fine. She actually had some funny parts, but her chemistry with Mark Wahlberg, it just didn't fit well. I just didn't buy them as a couple. I preferred him with Mila Kunis, but she was still fine. And yeah, Jamie Lynn or Tammy Lynn, whatever her name is, she was fine too. She was okay too. And yeah, the comedy in this movie was very funny. I was laughing my ass off in some scenes. Some scenes were completeness, but there was a lot of funny scenes in this movie. There was a lot of good movie references, like, you know, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Jurassic Park, all those kind of references to movies, and the pop culture references were very funny. And there's a lot of cameos in this movie. I almost felt like I was watching Entourage. There's a lot of cameos, and I'll spoil one, just a minor one. I won't tell you the joke, but Liam Neeson's a cameo in this movie, and yeah, it was so funny. It was so funny. I know a lot of people are probably thinking, Liam Neeson, funny? We saw him in A Million Ways to Die in the West. He is not funny. Yes, he was god-awful in that movie, but he's in one little scene in this movie, and I will not spoil the joke, but it is funny. It is the funniest thing in the entire movie. It is hilarious. I was laughing my ass off. Just so weird, but so hilarious, and yeah, I liked it. The comedy of this movie was good, and that's why I did have fun with this movie. The funny scenes were really funny, and Mark Wahlberg and Seth MacFarlane, had chemistry, and honestly, that was enough for me. Yes, the story is not very original or very interesting, and the third act of this movie is a mess, and Seyfried and Mark Wahlberg don't really have chemistry. But again, like, Mark Wahlberg's good, Seth MacFarlane is good, and the comedy really does hit. There's some really funny scenes in this movie. Unfortunately, this is kind of like a one-time watch kind of movie. This is not a movie I could watch a bajillion times. I probably will not even watch this movie again. I like the first Ted movie. I've seen that first Ted movie like 5 or 6 times. Even like watching it like the 5th or 6th time, it's not as funny. But it still is like the 2nd, 3rd time really funny. The first Ted movie is a much funnier movie than Ted 2. But Ted 2 is still a good movie and far better than A Million Ways to Die in the West. That movie sucked. This movie is good. If you're a fan of Seth MacFarlane, you love the first Ted movie, you love like Family Guy, you will love this movie. You will have a blast. You will laugh your ass off watching this movie. If you're not a Seth MacFarlane fan, you will hate this movie. You will like, oh, this movie's stupid. But I do enjoy Seth MacFarlane's work. It's not as good as the first Ted movie, but I did enjoy it. And yeah, for that, I'll give this movie a 6 out of 10. It's a good movie. I will not ever watch it again, but Seth MacFarlane fans, check this movie out. So in the comment section below, please tell me, what is your favorite Seth MacFarlane movie that he has directed? He's directed Ted, Ted 2, and A Million Ways to Die in the West. What is your favorite out of those 3? The first Ted is still my favorite, but what is your favorite of those 3 movies? Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.